welcome back to the Evermore podcast. It's your Newcastle United podcast on the Evermore YouTube channel. I'm your host, Chris, and I've been joined by my dynamic duo. They haven't dyed their hair blonde yet, but there's still time. It's the Lynch Man and it's Mark. How are we doing, boys?
I'm very well, mate. How are you?
Very good. We'll get a peroxide dye out for you, lads, soon. Don't you worry about that. You'll rock that, Lynch Man. You'll definitely pull off. Bit of black on blonde there, mate.
If you say so, mate. If you say so.
I haven't got enough to dye, sadly, lads, so I'm out to be fair. But no, listen, we've got loads to get stuck into. It's been a cracking week for Newcastle United and everybody involved with the club. Just before we do a little bit of housekeeping, we're live tonight. Come in the comments. We'll love having a big crack with you. And if you haven't already, please like and subscribe. We're looking for... we were looking for 300. We've capped that now. So thank you so much to everybody who subscribed. We're looking for that next 100. We want to aim for the 400. So yeah, keep on clicking that button, guys. Joining the channel. It really helps us grow. But listen, without further ado, let's get stuck into it. I'm going to cover you first, Lynchman, because me and Mark already rattled on for an hour about this after the post-match review, which was amazing. So thanks to everybody joining in for that. But Arsenal outgunned. We absolutely wiped our arse on Mikel Arteta's Arsenal, mate. They shit themselves up against the lads. You were in that ground, mate. Me and Mark watched it at home. The atmosphere was electric. Tell us a bit about it, Lynchman.
Wow, what can I say that hasn't already been said by so many of the fan base since Monday? It was a special, memorable night. Last home game of the season, the atmosphere was incredible. Look, I've been a season ticket holder since 1994, and I don't remember many nights as good as this night. You can talk about the best home games in the club's history. Man United 5-0, Barcelona 3-2, another Arsenal game, that 4-4. Mackham's 5-1. Monday night was right up there with those games. It was such a unique feeling, unique experience the whole night. Something I've finally felt again supporting this great club this season, and again another truly wonderful display from War Flags. Something on every seat in the ground, the iconic blue star on the Leazes End, the gold letters of United spelled out in the East Stand, the black and white stripes in the Milburn where I sit. It was a sight to behold, and imagine it was great to watch on the television, and a very emotional experience. And I was so proud of what we've managed to achieve as supporters this season, especially what War Flags have done. We've had Thomas on the show before. Want to say a personal thank you to all of them again. But those nights like Monday, they stay with you forever. I was lucky enough to experience it together with my dad, who means a lot to me, and it was just a special moment to have together. And you wanted a performance from the players to match those scenes at the start, and the players delivered on all fronts. Every single one of them was outstanding. It could have been a completely different narrative written if we'd have lost that game, but I just knew as the players were walking out and taking everything in, I just felt it was going to be our night, and we were all well-deserved winners. All the players were truly fantastic, Chris.
You're doing your best to make us cry like Lee did the other week there, mate. I was getting very choked up there for a minute, I must admit. Big shout out to Lee, actually. He wasn't meant to be on tonight, but he's a bit under the weather. So get well soon, Lee. We'll see you back at Evermore soon, pal. And I know you had a class night as well the other night. You sent us some amazing snaps. But you're right, James. I mean, those memories will last forever, mate. You and your dad, whoever, if you're there with your best mate, if you're there with your dad, if you're there, with your kids or whatever, you look at those kind of scenes. Me and Mark saw it on the TV. We were talking about it in the post-match. Mark, you already said it. We'll say it again. If you're a player around the world and you're ready for a transfer in the summer, and you look at that, I mean, I would challenge any single footballer in the world not to look at that and have the hairs on the back of the neck stand up and think, wow, look at that.
Yeah, that's the marketing promo for the club, isn't it? I mean, it's as simple as that. I said this on Monday. You've saved yourself a fortune in raising promotional material and doing videos. You just need to take a clip of that and just go, come and play for us. This is what you're coming to play for. And that's how good it was. And it was spine tingling.
It was, mate. It was absolutely electric. We've got some comments there, I think, coming in already. Ash, how you doing, mate? You were with us on Monday as well. He's back again. Yeah, we're really good, mate. The Lynchman has dropped out. I think he's having some internet problems, so hopefully he'll be back in a second. But yeah, as we said, Mark, it's interesting because I was just saying this to James before we came on, and I don't know if we touched on it in too much detail on Monday, but it was amazing, great game as a Newcastle fan. seeing the way we play and everything else. I think James has just popped back in. There he is. Pay your broadband bill, Lynch. What are you doing?
I'm there with my camera. Sorry, lad. Sorry about that.
That's all right. Sorry. You're back and you're beautiful, mate. You're back and you're beautiful. But we were just saying that the big issue that I had was Sky's coverage, Mark. Just again for the TV aspect that we watch. James was saying, his mate said the same thing. I was really disappointed. BT get a lot of shit, and rightly so, because they're abysmal at times. But when BT covered Newcastle, Liverpool, they were electric. They were in the crowd, had the phones out. Even Rio Ferdinand, buy your own club, Rio Ferdinand was, drinking it all in and bigging us up. Sky were really poor, Mark, weren't they? From our perspective, watching that, right in the Arsenal obituary, rather than giving Newcastle the credit they deserve.
But it seems to be the way, doesn't it? With it, that it's always looking for how have the big club failed to do it. It's never on just how good. Well, in this case, it was Newcastle. How good did they play? Newcastle were exceptional, and then didn't allow Arsenal to play. Yes, Arsenal were poor, but it was because of the way that Newcastle came out and dominated the game from the very first minute. You saw that in the comment from Xhaka. They didn't play their game, but they weren't allowed to. And then you get the commentary team. We have to listen to Alan Smith talk about it. It's going to be one-sided, and we did touch on it on Monday because I referenced the whole rolling out Niall Quinn for the Derby games. But then you go back in the street, and it's all about the failure of the Arsenal team, and it does rub you the wrong way, because you've put on a show on the field and off the field on Monday night, and it was a special atmosphere, and it was a special performance, and there wasn't enough credit given to the fans, the players, the management, because that's who deserved it on Monday.
There's no doubt about that, mate. You're absolutely right, Lynchman. Just obviously from being in the stand as well, mate. That Mark and I obviously had our say about it on the Monday, but be keen to get your perspective. We thought Bruno and Joe Linton were dominating in that midfield, and they just bossed these young Arsenal kids completely off the ball. Was that noticeable from where you were as well, mate? Did that stand out?
It did, yeah. I mean, look, as Mark rightly said, that was the best performance this season by us by some distance as well. The good thing for me was we were 14th going into this game, and virtually had nothing to play for. Arsenal needed to win to guarantee top four. Everything was riding on this game for them, and we just battered them. And it felt like, not so much the pressure was lifted for us, but we felt like we'd go out there and express ourselves and show what we were made of. And it could have easily been 3 or 4-0. And to a man, we were outstanding. But for me, the big difference in the night was Callum Wilson. He terrorised their centre-halves. They were petrified of him to go anywhere near him. And we looked like a top 6 team with him in the side. And that's no disrespect to Chris Wood, but we are a completely different animal with Wilson in the team. And I do believe if Wilson can stay fit, which I know is a big if, it's a huge if, but if he can, he can get 15 to 20 goals next season. He's one of the best strikers in the league on his day, and that was his day on Monday night. And again, as you rightly say, Joe Linton was absolutely immense. What a performance from him. He was everywhere in that midfield, winning possession back as he usually does. He gave everything for the shirt and was very deserving of the Player of the Season award, which he's just recently won as well. Bruno was wonderful again. I'm running out of superlatives to say about this guy now. I genuinely believe he could be the best player I've seen at this football club. He's really that good. And also, I want to give a special mention to Emil Kraft, who I thought was absolutely excellent. He, like a lot of other players, has been transformed under Eddie Howe this season. And you're starting to see now why he is a regular in that Sweden team. He's been ridiculed by so many fans for so many years, but actually when it comes down to it, he's not a bad right back, to be fair. And he didn't give Smith Rowe anything down that left-hand side. And I thought arguably Kraft had the best game of his Newcastle career on Monday night. So yes, so many fantastic individual performances on the whole, and nobody was deserving of anything less than a 9 out of 10, I thought.
Absolutely. Big shout out to Emil Kraft as well. Not only was he brilliant, but his reactions to Roll Shareover when he went down as well was absolutely superb. I know there's been a lot of images all over social media with that, and massive well done there to Emil Kraft for being so alert and doing that. And it's just amazing to see, how quickly, the lads are looking after each other in the park there as well. I think you're right, James, as well. I mean, Callum Wilson, one thing that did disappoint me a little bit was Callum Wilson's better looking with me, even missing a tooth. It was quite sad for me to realise that, mate. But yeah, that just shows the dedication of the man coming back on after that. We've got a couple of comments in there just before we shift on. So yeah, we've got the one from your mate, Dan Lynchman. Paqueta pictured by Bruno. I'm a bit mixed on this. I know PK, who can't be here, he's grafted tonight. Again, you're wondering, when do these players get any peace? People taking photos over the bloody rooftops and all that kind of stuff, But I think he probably did attend, Dan, to be honest with you. But yeah, there is some real creepy fucking weirdos in this fan base, I must admit. Thankfully, none of them are on this podcast. But yeah, and we've got a message there. I'm going to read this out from Ash. Ash is just saying, the worst night after our pod on Monday. His dad got rushed in the hospital. Really sorry to hear that, Ash. And he can't go in for an hour, so he's glad that we're on to take his mind off it. Listen, Ash, we hope we can help, mate, and I hope your dad's okay, buddy, from me and the lads.
Amen to that, man.
Yeah, we'll move on with.
Thanks for tuning in, Ash. Hope everything's okay.
Yeah, absolutely, man, absolutely. But you're right, lads. I mean, I think you're right, Lynch, man. I mean, the problem is with Wilson, as we all know, he's just that fitness record, man. When he's at it like that, like you say, me and Mark said it on Monday. He's one of the best in the league, and Mark, I think you referenced as well. He nearly got not just one goal of the season, possibly two when Bruno squared it as well. I mean, that goal would have been so sweet. I was gutted that didn't go in, mate.
It go back to the pass. I mean, the cross in from Bruno when he's on the byline, and he managed to sort of get in between. Was it 3 Arsenal players and volley that into the box on a plate? And yeah, I mean, it would have been a phenomenal. It's such a difficult goal to have taken, but it would have been spectacular. And then the other one, the sight to have seen Ramsdale so far off his line that quickly, and it was inches. I mean, it was scraping the post almost, wasn't it? So that would have been just to cap off that night. That would have been just amazing.
And well deserved as well. I'll tell you one thing just before we move on as well. Obviously, after the game, James, you probably stayed to drink in the atmosphere and give the lads the credit they deserved, for the lap of honour. If anyone hasn't watched it, God, go on Twitter and look at it. We retweeted it evermore, so check our page and give us a follow while you're there. But the 9-minute video of the lap of honour, mate, with the players and the wives and the kids, and mate, it was so special, to see the fans giving that adulation, even that and Deck getting stuck in as well, which is absolutely amazing to see. So, mate, what was your experience of that, Lynchman, in the crowd with you and your dad?
Well, again, you talk about memories that'll last a lifetime, and that was another one. And there's not been many laps of honour that we've experienced recently as fans that we've really, really wanted to stay to at the end. The Ashley era, I think many fans would just prefer to get to the bar after the game for a drink, but this one was special, wasn't it? And to see all the families there, the joy on their faces, to see the reception that we gave everyone, the young kids on the pitch as well. Having those memories with their fathers as players, and it was a brilliant moment. And really, really kind of sorry for any of the fan base who couldn't get to the game. And the demand for tickets now is just so sky high, and moments like that, you don't get them very often. But I was very, very proud and very privileged and honoured really to be there, Chris. It was a wonderful moment.
Yeah, it was absolutely superb. I've got a couple more comments there before we move on to the next section. Mike is saying Paqueta and the wife were attending Bruno's partner's birthday celebrations. I think I saw something on Twitter about that, Mike, as well. And we've got Dan saying, cheers, Mike. Knew it was something along those lines. Absolutely. But you two guys won't be following the cameras, I'm pretty sure of that. But listen, it was a great night, as you say, Lynchman, and just a brilliant season. We will definitely, once the season's finished, we'll be back on with an ever more special of the end of season awards, so to speak, in terms of our choice of player of the season, goal of the season, signing of the season, etc. So please make sure you click like and subscribe. I'll just cover James's face there so you can do that. Click like and subscribe, and make sure you stick with the channel, and that'll be a cracking episode, lads, when we all do that, especially given the way the season panned out. But just moving on to the next section. So it's kind of come out in the news recently. We've had a bit of a I wouldn't say blip, bit of an inconvenience is probably the right word, Mark, isn't it, to the pre-season plans, just bringing you in here first. So it's the Ohio Cup, I believe it was meant to be, played in, was it Columbus and Cincinnati, where it was us and Wolves going over. Obviously, the MLS had to sign off on it, but apparently it's just been yanked at the last minute with kind of very little explanation, and it's left us a little bit, I suppose, unprepared for pre-season. I think Eddie Howe, being the meticulous guy that he is, probably wanted to get this all bottomed out before we even played Burnley, I'd imagine. So he knew what was going on. Bit of an inconvenience, mate. Do you think it's going to cause us any issues with the pre-planning, or do you think we'll just move on quickly?
I think it's more of an inconvenience that is a problem. Yeah, it's a pain. You've got plans in place to go and play these teams. I think there was some talk that there there were worries that the attendance wouldn't be as high as they actually wanted it to be, so it wasn't worthwhile putting the games on and things. But I don't think it will take much for the likes of Newcastle and Wolves, for that matter, to find MLS clubs to play and fit those in at times and get games and exposure across in the States. It may mean a change of venues and things like that, but you know what these clubs are like. They've got pulling power, so it's not going to cause. I don't think it will cause too many problems.
No, I think we've ruled out going to Saudi Arabia as well. That's been ruled out. Just before I come to you, Lynchman, just give Ash a shout. He's come back in the comments there. Cheers, guys. He's going to be okay. As for transfers, he's getting stuck right in. Go on, Ash. Get right back in the transfers, mate. We like your style. He's looking for Nunes, Phillips, Paqueta, and Botman. Wow, it's a good list there, mate. We're going to cover that in the next couple of sections, Ash. We'll try and stay with us if you can. But just coming on to you, Lynchman, for this kind of pre-season hiccup, so to speak. I mean, we're going to come on potentially. Well, we might as well touch on them now, actually. There's been some rumours that the long-awaited Dan Ashworth appointment might possibly be in June. I believe Mark heard there was a fee of, was it 3 million compensation or something like that? Mark, was that right for that?
Yeah, I think the talk was that start of June, the compensation had been agreed so that he could finally come to St James's and get started. So I mean, we're a couple of weeks away from that. That would sort of start the pre-season off, I guess, nicely and sort of begin that process and get him in quickly, because he'll be a key piece going forward.
Yeah, Ash is confirming there, June 6th, 3 million. So just your take on that, Lynchman. Obviously, good news for Ashworth that that's happening. Do you think this pre-season mix-up is going to cause much bother to the lads, or do you think we'll just get sorted straight away?
Well, on the Dan Ashworth thing, I mean, it seems like we've talked about him on this show more than anyone else, doesn't it? And look, this has been going on for months now, all the way back to November of last year. And look, finally, it sounds like there has been a resolution to this. Compensation agreed with Brighton. Sounds like he's going to be officially announced as our new sporting director the first week of June. And yeah, I'm absolutely delighted about this. I think there has been a bit of brinksmanship between both clubs over the compensation fee. Mark said there, Chris, you said 3 million has been agreed finally. Again, this hasn't been confirmed by anyone at the club. It is speculation right now, but it does sound like the right amount. It makes sense, and you have to get him in as early as possible for this summer transfer window, which is opening very, very soon. It opens on the 10th of June, less than a month away. So, but yeah, going back to the pre-season disappointment, it massively disappointing for the club and the players with barely any explanation given really as to why the plug was pulled on this Ohio Cup. And there was 3 very good teams that were due to play there: Wolves, Valencia, and Villarreal. Eddie Howe likes to test his players during pre-season. Something the previous managers of this club haven't really liked to do. But you've got to remember, Villarreal just got to a Champions League semi-final. It would have been great to see how we would have matched up against them. And yeah, look, this would have been planned for a long time. You look at how long it takes to get visas arranged, to get paperwork arranged, and this will be a big blow for Eddie Howe, who is very, very meticulous and he likes to be detailed. But you mentioned before that you don't think they'll end up doing anything in Saudi Arabia. I don't think that's entirely the case. I think if you look at possibly playing night games there, you look at possibly playing indoor games. Yes, the heat is excruciating in June and July. I know that, but there could be ways around that. I'm sure that could be arranged very, very quickly to bring those other 3 clubs with them, depending on what kind of plans they have. But look, the players only have 6 weeks off. Once the season finishes, that's not that much time, really. They've got to report back pre-season training on July the 1st. So there's not going to be much time to change things now and to move things around. But a bit of a headache for the club, really. It's not really what we wanted going into this summer transfer window, is it?
No, it isn't. It isn't. We've got enough shit with the strips we're going to wear, let alone where we're going to play when we wear them, mate. But we'll not get into that, Lynchman. I can see your eyes rolling. I only did it just to wind you up, mate. But no, I think there's plenty of people who have spoken enough about that. But yeah, you're right. It's not ideal. I mean, I think the Dan Ashworth one, I think Mark said it in the comments, actually, that would be a fantastic appointment. Absolutely, Mark. I think that's the kind of overlying, opinion really by everybody in the game, not just people involved with Newcastle. I mean, Mark, just to end on this subject with Dan Ashworth, I mean, what he's done with Brighton, what he did with England. I mean, we've played so well and we seem to have just adapted so much to the Eddie Howe, regime and effect, fitness, dedication, focus. Dan Ashworth is only going to enhance that even further, isn't he, really, with what he brings to the table?
Yeah, absolutely. He's another piece, isn't he? He's not the end of it, but he's another piece in the right direction for the club. And the changes that have been made since the takeover, they've only been positive, and they'll continue to be that. You bring somebody in, with the record of Ashworth, it's only going to be a good thing, and it's another step in the right direction and on to bigger and better things.
Absolutely, and that's a wonderful segue, mate, just to move into the next section, which has become our favourite section. You never would have said this under Mike Ashley, would you, lads? The Toon Transfer talk. So we've got a batch of names linked again. There's been lots of talk about Toon transfers, some really trusted media sources as well in terms of journalism that we all know and love. I've had a few things to say about Newcastle transfer pot, which we're going to come on to. But just looking at some individual players, Lynchman, we've got a left back to start with, mate, that you know a little bit about. And now, obviously, we'll also talk about Matty Targett and how classy he's been, and what the future is for him. But just give us a little bit of information about the first left back we're talking about, James.
Well, we have been linked with Renan Lodi. This is an interesting one. This, as you do mention, Matty Targett there, Chris, and rightfully so. Matty Targett has done a tremendous job so far since coming in at left back, and I do appreciate we probably won't have any cover at left back next season. I fully expect Jamal Lewis and Matt Ritchie to be sold in the summer. How much we can recoup for them, I don't know. Maybe 20 million if we're lucky for the pair, but that would add to the kitty as well. But yes, Paul Dummett has signed a 1-year contract extension, can play there also. But I do think having another left back of the quality of Renan Lodi's can only be a good thing, as you just don't know what can happen with injuries next season. To be fair to Matty Targett, he has had a pretty good injury record at Newcastle so far, even though he hasn't been here too long. Mark can probably give me a little bit more insight on that over his career. But I will caveat this by saying I don't think this signing will be a priority, if I'm honest. It would be really unfair to ask Matty Targett to sit on the bench next season after what he's done for us, because this guy, Renan Lodi, he won't come in unless he's guaranteed to play week in, week out. He's an extremely good defender. Some might argue a world-class left-back. He's in a really good side in Atletico Madrid, still very young at only 24, but he's played at the highest level for the last 3 years now. Champions League games, big games in La Liga. The one thing about him that I would say is an improvement over Matty Targett is he's very, very effective in the final third. He loves to get forward. He loves to support the wide players. He's already scored 4 goals and got 5 assists this season, which is brilliant numbers for a defender, especially a left back. And overall, look, he would be a big upgrade on Matty Targett. But I do feel harsh saying that, as Targett has been so good for us this season. And I do expect come June the 10th, when the window does open, Targett will be our first signing on a permanent deal. And as far as I'm aware, this deal has already been agreed with Aston Villa.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, it was an interesting bit about Matty Targett, Mark. I know we kind of put it on the Twitter page, didn't we? That he was getting interviewed by NUFC TV after the game, and Bruno kind of came and he said he has to stay. He has to stay. That he walked away and he was laughing. And then they asked Matty Targett, and he said, "Look, they know what I want." You know what I mean? And he was smiling all the way through it. So it's pretty clear. And I think Matty Targett's made his mind that he wants to be part of this project going forward, mate. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, look, yeah, he absolutely wants to stay. I mean, you saw that we talked about this before, but you saw the emotion. He was visibly moved by the reception that he got on Monday. He wants to stay. He's not going to play very much at Villa if he was to go back. By all accounts, there are other clubs sniffing around, and I think this sort of pulls into the comments that Keith Downey made on Monday about the deal perhaps not being as ironclad as maybe his first thought. But I do think that his preference is to stay at St James's Park. I don't think there's any issue in terms of the finances and the deal. I think they're talking about 13 million being the fee that was agreed. So to be honest, for the performance that he's given you so far, it's a snip. And he deserves that now. He's played very, very well. I get James's comment about Lodi probably being an upgrade on him. He's got a couple of years on him, though, so it would be difficult for Lodi to come in and then take over. I don't think Targett would want that, because he's had that situation at Villa when Luca Dean came in. But I think he will be, more than likely, he's going to be the first signing and the main starter at left back for the next season.
I think he just gets the club. I really do, and I think he it's worlds apart from probably how he felt, when Dina came in at Villa. You know what I mean? He probably felt, oh well, thanks, that's great. Nobody wants me. And then he's come here. He's part of this exciting project, and it's obviously just a new dawn from really. Yeah, I hope he signs. I'm with James. I hope he's the first sign of the window, and I think he'll be absolutely superb. Very interesting, because there's been some talk. I think our friend George Colkin, wasn't he, came out and said, I believe that the kitty's only 80 million, I think, and that maybe goes against the grain of what Dan said in the comments here. He thinks our owners will be wanting a poster boy this summer. Someone out of nowhere kept the secret to really make a statement. Best thing to expect this window is to be unexpected. So I suppose that would kind of counteract those claims, James, in terms of these kind of advisory figures to stay low. Do you think that is us playing the FFP card, or do you think that's a little bit of a smokescreen, mate, in terms of the owners trying to keep their business quiet?
Yeah, it's been a difficult one, this, isn't it? Because there have been a lot of reports the last kind of week or so. Craig Hope, another journalist as well, who has come out and said the similar things. And these guys are connected to the owners. They have conversations with them quite frequently. I would be genuinely gobsmacked if we weren't going to be going big this summer. I really would. From what I've been seeing on social media, sponsorship deals are rife right now. Conversations about that. There's so much speculation on this. I've heard Aramco being discussed. Gulf Saudi has come up quite a few times, and possibly Gulf Saudi would be the one that would make the most sense on this, with the chief executive Majada Al Saror, I think his name is, who has been appointed a director of the club recently. I was also at the Arsenal game on Monday night, but look, who knows? There's a lot of up in the air at the moment. What we do know is there has to be lucrative sponsorship deals come in. We need a very big increase in commercial revenue as soon as we possibly can, as realistically the only way around financial fair play at the moment is with a massive sponsorship deal, and something that we've never really had before. And it will allow us to really attack this summer window and not have to be worried about, breaking any rules or doing everything by the book. So yeah, I think these sponsorship deals probably will have a reflection on how much we do spend in the summer. Hopefully, if we can get one over the line in the next 2 or 3 weeks, then that 80 million figure that would be recently here and quoted by George Courtland, that'll double, and that'll go up to 160 million. So I do think it is going to depend on that. But personally, I can't see us spending less than what we did in January. That just wouldn't make sense. The way the direction of the club is going, surely we've got to be looking at 150 million minimum. 2 new centre forwards. We've talked about this before. 2 new centre forwards, centre half, a creative midfielder, and a goalkeeper, and possibly another fullback. I'd be a very happy man.
I'm just still amazed by your effortless pronunciation of these names, Lynchman. You blow my mind, mate. You really do. Just covered some of the comments here. We've had a few guys banging some comments. So Ash is just saying he would like to see Michael Edwards as a technical sporting director and Dan Ashworth as a director of football. That would be quite good. We've got Alan from Salt Lake, Geordie. Hi, mate. Guys, nice to see you again. But he's 21 minutes behind. Don't worry, mate. You can always go back and catch up and rewind and hear what we had to say at the start. Ash again saying 13 million's a steal for Matty Target. He thinks Villa fucked up. I couldn't agree with that more. I think that we definitely got the better deal out of those two. We've got Toonza, the one and only. Evening, afternoon, and good morning. Everyone's like the Truman Show, that, mate. Thanks for that. I love that comment. Absolutely fucking superb. And we mentioned him at the start, our good mate, Lee Forster. He's pulled himself off the sick bed to comment, simply a ruse to stop us being taken to the cleaners. We will spend big, but not as big as some people potentially think. Great to have you in the comments, Lee. Hope you're feeling better, buddy. And again, as always, bang on. So just going back to players individually, Mark, as our resident keeper, this guy's name's been chucked up numerous times. I know the Lynchman's a big fan of him as well. But Dean Henderson's back on the radar. Whoever you believe, it's either 40 million or 20 million or a loan and 20 million. For starters, Dubravka is Dubravka. He has good qualities, he has poor qualities. You've been very vocal about it, Mark, as has the Lynchman. Would Henderson be a massive upgrade on Dubravka? And is this a good move for both Henderson and for Newcastle United if this comes off?
Yeah, I think yes, he is an upgrade. He will certainly improve at that position. It would be a good move all round, I feel, except for obviously Dubravka, who's probably not going to be too happy with it. But I mean, let's come to the figures about it. If you're talking about 40 million, and that was rumoured last week, 40 million is sky high for a player that's only played 13 Premier League games in 2 seasons. And he's, I think in total over the 2 seasons, he's played 29 games since he went back to Manchester United from Sheffield United, where he did play very well. 20 million, I would suggest, is probably the more realistic figure for a player with those sort of playing minutes over the last couple of seasons. But he's definitely one that you can build on. There was sort of talk that it could be looked at as a loan deal, but I'd argue against that as a goalkeeper, because you know for a fact that in a player in that position, you're going to lose him for 2 games a season. And in a goalkeeper position is one of the most important, especially where you're building a back line with a player like that. Then you need him available all the time. And just to throw a goalkeeper in for a couple of games a season, it just isn't the way it should work. So I do think a permanent deal is the more likely. It, like I say, is a definite upgrade, isn't it? So Dubravka's done well, but we know that he does have those monumental mistakes in him, and they do happen more often than not, unfortunately. And as good as he's been, and he was magnificent last week, you think that that's an area that you need to move on from. Maybe not as a priority, but it's definitely an area to look at.
It's definitely something to consider. We've got Lee in the comments there, which I think is a really good comment. Lynchman, I'll get your take on this. If Burnley drop, Pope will be looking for an emergency escape route. England International could be cheaper as a result of Burnley's desperation. I know Mark's a big fan of Pope as well. If you had to choose, Lynchman, between Pope and Henderson, where are you going to go?
Nick Pope, only on the basis that he's been playing regularly this season. I mean, it's a close run thing because I am a huge fan of Henderson, but I do think Pope is the better goalkeeper overall. Maybe Henderson has the greater long-term potential, but because we haven't seen really enough of him, I wouldn't say. But yeah, I think this is all going to come down to who gets relegated, isn't it? You know, other players, Calvin Phillips at Leeds, another one. If they go down, got to go in for him. You know, he's only on 20, 30 grand a week at Leeds. So it's peanuts in terms of a footballer. England International as well. You look at Rafinha at Leeds. I think it will come down to this who gets relegated. If Burnley do stay up, I think there's a stronger chance Pope stays. So I think it is going to come down to that last game of the season. But yeah, Nick Pope or Dean Henderson would be a huge upgrade on Dubravka for me. But
sticking with Burnley, there is a name that's been linked quite a lot, and I think it doesn't matter whether Burnley stay up or go down. I think he's pretty much gone. Is James Tarkowski. Now, when we first got taken over, he was linked quite a lot, and we were all thinking that's an upgrade, you know, on Lascelles and that kind of a thing, because Lascelles was in really poor form at the time. But I think looking at it, I mean, he is still a decent player. There's no doubt about that. He's been in a relegation threat in Burnley for a long time, and it does bring your game down a bit. You know, when you're constantly fighting fires and constantly conceding goals, people start thinking you're a bad player. You know, we've seen players leave relegated sides and go to, you know, bigger teams and be much better for it, you know. But I think for me, he's probably going to be a replacement, certainly a replacement for Clark in squad depth and arguably for Lascelles. I don't think Lascelles will be here next season. I think his time has done well. I think he's been a great servant. He's been a good captain for a large period of time, especially at a time when the club needed him the most. You know, likes of him and Isaac Hayden, who also was very emotional in the lap of honour, and he even put a bit of a spurious tweet out, didn't he, to say whatever happens next, you know, I'll be cheering the team on, which sounded like a player leaving to me and like everybody else. But if you bring Tarkowski in to replace Lascelles in this squad, you know, and he's back up for Burn and Share, or maybe he can, you know, press one of them to get their place in the team or whatever. Do you think that's going to be a bit of an upgrade, Mark? Do you think on the lads that we've got?
I think certainly when you're looking at the likes of Clark and probably Lascelles, he is an upgrade on those two. I don't think he's quite that going to jump ahead of Shaw. It potentially could. I mean, you got to remember he was England squad material, wasn't he? So
it was 2 caps. He got 2 caps, didn't he? Yeah.
There's a defender in there, and you're right. When you're playing in a team that is struggling, it can be hard, especially in that position where you are, you know, you're struggling as a unit defensively, to actually show just how good you are. And let's flip that back to the Newcastle side. Look how good Fabian Schär looks now, as opposed to where he was
absolutely
8 months ago. Look how good Lascelles looks at times. He came on Monday.
He did well. He did well on Monday when he came on. He didn't look like he was Lascelles of old, did he, mate?
Here's a question for you, lads. Out of the current squad, who do you think will be sold in the summer, and how much do you think we're going to get for them?
I think there's a raft of them, isn't there?
I think you're looking at the likes of Hayden will move on, Richie will move on. I'd probably argue that Almiron will potentially move on because you'll look to upgrade in that area.
One of the goalkeepers.
Yeah, Darlow will go. I don't see him staying. I think you probably, if you do bring in a new goalkeeper, then I think Dubravka might move on as well, and you could command a fee for him. You've got Woodman as backup. Gillespie, is he still under contract next season as well? So there's the three. If you forget that he's there, don't you?
It's classic carrying the waters, mate. I heard he's great at carrying the waters. He distributes the weight either side. He's absolutely superb with that, mate, to be fair.
But even looking at Lascelles going, if he does move, you've got the potential for another 40-odd million to come in
Richie, Lewis, Clark, possibly Sean Longstaff, possibly Matty Longstaff. We could maybe get, let's say we do sell all of these players upwards of maybe 80, 90 million, possibly.
Yeah.
Am I being too generous there?
No, I think that's quite easy to do. Some of those players you look at the guys coming up from the Championship. Like we touched on with Lascelles, maybe going to Forest and players like that.
I'm loving Lee's comments here. I think you might have overvalued Kieran Clark.
Bloody hell, Jeff Hendrick as well. You just forget about him, don't you?
That's 9% inflation he's added to Kieran Clark there.
I think Hendrick is already linked to staying with Borough, isn't he, for next season?
Yeah, I think he'll be a Championship player next season.
I think was he not a QPR? I think, wasn't he?
No, he got. I thought he went to.
No, he did. Yeah, he knocked back Borough, didn't he? I think he went to QPR. I don't know.
That's right.
That shit. I forgot all about him before we got rid of him. I didn't give a shit. He was that crap.
They both turned Borough down in January, didn't they? That's
Lewis and Hendrick. That was it. Yeah.
And then you've got you've obviously got Gale who's going to move on as well. So there's wages to come off the sort of the whole structure of it. Then so there's a huge amount to save. And squad places to sort of free up as well.
Out of all those players there, which player gets the most money? Do you think maybe Almiron possibly? Do you think maybe upwards of 25 for him? Let's just say if he sold him possibly.
I think if you're looking at those, probably between him and Dubravka, if Dubravka was to move on. Yeah. If you bring in Henderson, then I think Dubravka, you could probably command 20 to 25 million.
Is that the time? Is it, Mark?
We're on early tonight.
No, it's flown by. Dave just cleaned up the Jeff Hendrick thing for you. He was on the bench at QPR, but they sent him back. That's a great show. I think we've got to get this comment up as well from Mike. God no, Mike. God no. I think even Drew's completely fell off his seat with that one, mate. But to be fair to Drew, just to go back to Cedric, he's a big lover of Bruno as well, James. As you can see there. He's putting Bruno with some esteemed company in that comment there, mate. But I think you're right. I think both of you are right. I think Bruno's got the potential to be an unbelievable player. Lee is telling Mike to wash his mouth out. Absolutely, Lee. Absolutely, mate. Great show. Well, we've got PK in the comments.
I think Mike was being a bit tongue in cheek there. Let's give him the benefit of the doubt. I think he was probably having a bit of a laugh there, wasn't he?
He was just having a laugh. I think PK's jumped off graft, and he's got the smiling face. It's good to see you, PK. And hello to PDK. I must be your Brazilian pen pal, PK, to be fair, mate. So that's absolutely superb. But yeah, so I think you're right, lads. I mean, there's going to be loads of names linked. I mean, one of the names that's come back up that seems to be, again, very solid, similar to Tarkowski. These two seem to be the two that are going to get done. And it makes me think that these two were ones that were nearly done in January. Ekitike has come back on the radar. We spoke about him at length. I know, James, you're a big fan of the young lad. We were quite, I think understanding's probably the right word. We understood why this young lad had reservations about leaving his native, country of France, coming to a club that looked like it was going to go down. Now that's obviously not going to happen. He's seen what we're all about. It looks like he's maybe made the mind to come up. The owner or the chairman of that club has been very vocal about selling him and making the money. Lynchman, will this lad come in, do you think, in your opinion? And is he going to improve the squad?
He would definitely improve the squad. I mean, the centre forward is the position where we're in desperate need of more than any other. We have talked about this guy again on many shows. No smoke without fire and all that. He seems to be constantly being linked with us. And again, we were one day off signing him. Really, on deadline day, weren't we, in January? But yeah, he has had a bit of an injury record this season, hasn't he? Hasn't played a great deal, but I don't think he'd be a top target. I think if you look at the likes of if a Darwin Núñez became available, or an Alexander Isak, someone of that caliber, and the money was right and the deal made sense, that's who you would go in for. You know, we've talked about several strikers on the show before, Tammy Abraham being another one. I can't see that happening, but I wouldn't put Ekitike in the bracket of some of those players I've mentioned. He is not necessarily a gamble, definitely one for the future, but I think that we can't necessarily sign him as our number one striker next season. I think certainly as a backup, bring him into the squad, play him in the cup games. But I certainly think, you know, come, let's say, the middle of the window, if other clubs are playing hardball over the likes of Núñez and what have you, maybe near the end of the window, and we still haven't got one over the line. I hope we're not in that position, by the way. But if that is the case, then certainly Ekitike would be a very, very good signing.
Just to clear up, everybody, Mike was joking. So panic over. We're all sorted there. And thank you so much, PDK, subbed and like. Lee seems to think that's just Paul Descartes. He's got an ulterior YouTube identity there, mate. So he's casting some aspersions on you. We're having a great little argument here in the comments about Calvin Phillips as well. I think Super Gav thinks that he'll go to Manchester United. Lee completely disagrees and says he won't end at Man United because of Smith. I remember that. God, Alan Smith went from bloody hero to zero, didn't he, with that? Drew was saying that Phillips is born and bred Leeds' entire life, which, you know, was that he'd have to move if he goes there. Yeah, I suppose. But I mean, a lot of players have made that.
I can't see that move happening at all. I mean, that rivalry between Leeds and Man U is really quite vicious. I think Man U will go in for Declan Rice, to be honest. I think that'll be their marquee signing. It'll be Declan Rice, and we hopefully could get Calvin Phillips.
Yeah, I think West Ham will cash in them as well. Lee's saying Schick, which is great because he called him Shtick pretty much all episode when we were on last time, Lee. So I absolutely love that, mate. And Mbappe available, PK. Christ, the money he wants, he would have made about 10 million doing this podcast. I think that the amount of money that PSG have offered that lad. But I think Mbappe's and all those guys, I know PK's having a laugh, but they're miles away from us now at the minute. But there are some real quality players that are going to be available. But there might be a bit of truth in that, Mark, wouldn't it? In terms of the budget not being as maybe as bottomless pit as many have thought. There might be one or two players who are too good to not take up, and the money is there. No, spend the money, get them, you know, whether they pay them through installments or not. But there could be some shrewd deals done. Maybe Henderson on a loan, maybe Lingard on a free, maybe Tarkowski on a free. You're talking about 3 England internationals there. They're certainly going to bolster the squad. And I'm confident that Eddie Howe and Dan Ashworth, when he comes in, are going to be clever enough to spend this money wisely. You know, what do you think, mate?
Absolutely. Yeah, you look at what you can bring in to take a next level. And if you bring in that level of backup players as well that you can bring in for free. But if you're looking for like a statement signing, for example, the talk in some of the press was that Núñez was available for around 60 million euros. Now that, to me, would be an absolute bargain. It would be a hell of a statement signing for Newcastle as well. It doesn't eat up the whole budget, like we've talked about. If you've got 80 to start with and you can bring in another 50, 60 million on top of that in terms of player sales, then that's only eating a third of your total budget. So that would make an awful lot of sense and would give you that firepower up front straight away. Then you can bring in an Ekitike on a deal that is maybe a little bit cheaper, with incentives over time for Champions League appearances, that sort of thing over the next few years. And that starts to make an awful lot of sense if you can do it that way. We know that Núñez will probably, we thought more than likely will go to somewhere that will give him Champions League football. But maybe the sway of this project, the way that this has started, and again, you go back to what the ground looked like on Monday, and that is such a huge selling point to any player to go, you know, this could be part of something very, very special in the future. You look at the players of the past. You've touched on a few of those in the comments, but look at the adoration for somebody like Shearer. Yes, he was homegrown, but if you come in and can play to that level, this is the place for life for you.
Just a point on Shearer as well. Amazing to see that statue back where it belongs. We saw it on social media. Absolutely well deserved for Alan Shearer. We had some comments there. PK reckons we're going to spend circa 200 million. He's going big or going home as PK. And we've got Zamir. Nice to see you, Zamir. If you haven't already, mate, please subscribe. We've got Newcastle United will spend big during the summer window. They need to sign Carlos, Botman, and Jesse Lingard, and Ekatike. That's a fantastic list, that, mate. And obviously we've got Dan Ashworth there. This is a very interesting comment that caught my eye, lads. Get your view on this Lynchman. We talked about him on a previous episode. So Winnie Wynn is saying he works in Manchester, and there's rumours that Rashford wants to go to Newcastle. Now, that's interesting because I still think Marcus Rashford is a really, really talented footballer. And I think a refresh for Rashford would get him back on track, mate. I would love him at St James's Park. What about you, mate?
Absolutely. I think a move for him would be great for himself and obviously the club. He can play a lot of different positions, can't he? So he's quite versatile, and he can play as a wide forward, he can play as a winger, he can play as a centre forward. I mean, he'd walk into our first team right now. I mean, you look at Almiron, for example, who, to be fair, he's been okay this season, but you could fill that position perfectly. He'll want to get an England call-up for this World Cup. He hasn't featured in the squad much recently because he hasn't been playing for Man U, whether or not that's mental health reasons or injuries, or we don't really know what's happened there with him. And I don't really think he's come out and kind of talked about why he has been struggling. But something's obviously happened at Man U for the fact that he just isn't getting a game right now, and his form is just so poor. But yeah, I would love to see him at Newcastle. And as I said, he'd be desperate to get back in that England squad. And what better way to do that by coming to St James's Park?
Absolutely. And as Davey reminds us there, the cost of a player is normally spread over the length of the contract. Mark, you made a point about that earlier. So, spending big on these big players might not mean one lump sum straight away. Drew saying Dybala. I'd love Dybala, but I think he's going to stay in Serie A. A lot of the talk is about that. There's a lot of stories about that. We talked about it a couple of episodes ago. I'd love him, mate, but I can't see it happening. And Dan has got there. She's saying Rashford is just stagnated at Man United. Absolutely. He definitely needs a change if he's going to play for England. I couldn't agree more. And there's a nice name there that Peng's brought up, Peng Media, Harvey Barnes. That's a very interesting one. What do you think about Harvey Barnes, Mark? I think he's a cracking little player. Would he fit this Newcastle project?
Certainly that kind of forward player from wide that you would look for. Yeah, very, very much so. He's young. He's got plenty of pace. He's got goal scoring ability. He would fit in massively. I completely agree with the Rashford thing. I do think as much as he'd love to probably remain at Manchester United for his whole career, I just think things have stagnated for him. I think he probably needs a refresh. He struggled this season massively. He might get that refresh with Ten Hag coming in, but I think he would again. He's another one that would suit Newcastle really, really well. He's young enough. He's very, very good. He's very talented still. We've seen what he can do for Manchester United and for England. So if you could, and it was a reasonable fee, why not? That would seem a brilliant deal to go for.
Again, I think we've got to remember, lads, all these players. It's great throwing names out. It's really fun, but they've got to be the right character and the right fit for the squad. That is the most important thing we've got to look for. Yes, they might have all the ability and talent in the world, but if they don't have the right attitude and the right mentality and the right professionalism, we won't be signing them.
No, you're absolutely right. Yeah.
I was going to say this is Eddie Howe's philosophy, isn't it? It has to be character over anything else, and if they're going to be disruptive. This is why we laughed off the Pogba links a few weeks ago, because he's just not that. He's not that player. He's not that kind of character for the dressing room that you want. They have to add to that dressing room atmosphere, that one above, the team ethic above the individual. And these are kind of players that you'd argue would fit into that mentality.
Absolutely. I'm just laughing at the comments with Lee. Better than last Barnes that played. To be fair, Lee, he was about 46 and about 25 stone when Barnes came in. Digger, as PK's called him. Yeah, I think Super Gav's right. We're spot on about Rashford. Love to see him here. Absolutely. We've got Drew saying Dan Ashworth will be a major part, obviously, with England players. I think you're absolutely right. Southgate and him will have that close kind of synergy. No dickhead policy needs to remain in place. Absolutely, PK. Absolutely, mate. The characters are going to be a strong part. So listen, we're going to move away from the transfer, lads, because we could be here all night. And as much as we'd love to do that, we're going to have to wrap up soon. So Burnley for the last dance. That's the last game of the season, James. our mate Phil, the Leeds fans, already texted me praying that we turn up like we did against Arsenal. You are not too excited about Leeds staying in the league, mate. So would you be happy if the lads had the flip-flops on, mate? Are you bothered about this game or not?
Well, look, no, I want to see us finish high up the table as possible. I do want to see Leeds go down though, and that's, no offense to your Leeds mate there, Chris, but I'm not a huge fan of that club. But we'll leave that for another day. But look, this is going to be an interesting game. Burnley have to win, as you rightly say, really to guarantee survival. I'm sure their fans will be well up for it at their stadium. It will be interesting to see what happens tomorrow night. We were talking about this before we went live. 2 really big games. Everton play Palace, Burnley play Villa. Massive games at the bottom of the table could decide really the final day. And now if Everton win tomorrow and Burnley win, that pretty much sends Leeds down. So arguably, you probably want Burnley to win tomorrow night so that the pressure's off them slightly when they play us on Sunday. And that's no disrespect there, Mark. But saying that, look, we all saw what happened to Arsenal when the pressure was on them on Monday night. They bottled it. They completely caved. And I think this will be a different situation at their ground, that with their home fans behind them. They're a tough team to play, Burnley. You never know what kind of team you're gonna see. It's been a little bit unpredictable under Mike Jackson. They've been much more attacking, much more fluid and playing more expansive football, but they can be got at defensively. We will score against them, I'm certain of that, especially with James Tarkowski, we've talked about tonight, and Ben Mee. They're both out with long-term injuries. And I think if you stop Maxwell Cornet, you stop Burnley. It's as simple as that, really. They've got nothing up front. Weghorst and Barnes are championship players. We've got Callum Wilson, we've got Bruno, we've got Trippier. Surely we'll have enough to beat them. Look, our away form hasn't been particularly great lately, I know that. The Norwich game obviously was with the exception to the rule, but I just can't make a case for Burnley in this one. I really can't. And I don't think it's just going to be as one-sided as Monday night. They'll want it more than Arsenal did. But I think we win this, Chris. I think we win this 2-1.
Yeah, it's a shame for Winnie Win, because it sounds like he might be out of a job if we win, mate. Sorry, Winnie Win. I hope he doesn't bin you. That's going to be surely unfair dismissal, mate, if he bins you off. But yeah, I'm kind of with you, Lynchman, as well. But I'll get Mark's take on it first. I mean, looking at the way Eddie Howard, the lads, set out, Mark, and the way that we played in a game that apparently meant nothing to us in 14th place. Do you think that this guy is just too good of a manager to let the lads rest in the laurels? Do you think we'll go at it and do Burnley, mate? Or do you think Burnley, obviously, if they get the result, midweek, will they take the foot off the gas, or are they just going to go at it? And, it's a tough game of call, mate, isn't it, what you take?
It is. Well, let's put it this way. Newcastle aren't going to be on the beach on Sunday, are they? Like other teams maybe have been, despite the fact that they were safe. Eddie Howe's not going to let them ease up. Head into the summer with an easy walk off. It is a difficult one to call. I think James is absolutely bang on. They are going to be well up for this. I think regardless of the result tomorrow night, I think that does help things a little bit. Leeds do have a tricky one at the weekend, so they could very well be down by the end of tomorrow, and that. Not mathematically, but I think realistically, I think Newcastle will go there with fully the intention of the same as Monday, go in there and just dominate from the beginning. And again, James is bang on the money. You're going to score goals. They do have holes in them, and they're very, very one-dimensional in terms of going forward. Weghorst hasn't really hit the ground running since he came in. Corney's been the one. And if you can keep him quiet, then you very much keep the rest of the team quiet. I think they were a little bit unlucky last week, but again, they've had those little runs of good performances, but then they've dropped away again, and they're very much there to get at. And I think you could end the season on a massive high by taking another 3 points and walk into the summer.
Prediction, mate. What's your score prediction, Mark?
I think I'm going to go 3-1.
3-1 to Newcastle, yeah?
Yes.
Just to clarify that. So I had to pull that back up because I love that, the Scouse backups. That's what I call them. I'd love to see them go down, Lee, but I think they're probably done enough. I'm with you, lads, as well. I don't think Burnley have got enough in the locker. It's going to be a real challenge, between them and Leeds. I'm not as much of a Leeds hater as the Lynch man. I don't mind seeing them sticking around. They'll probably go down the season after anyway. But Burnley for me are the new Stoke. They've been stinking the Premier League up for too long, much like we did, much like Sunderland did, much like Villa did all them years ago. We all went down. Eventually, it all comes and gets you, and I think it's Burnley's time to go. So I think we'll beat them. I'm kind of with Dan. I think we'll beat them 3-0. I'm going to go for a 3-0 win for the Toon, and Eddie Howe's Mags signing off in wonderful style. And we'll be back with the last ever more of the season in terms of the games, but we'll also have obviously the season end awards the week after that, I'm sure. But just before we wrap up, lads, we've got a couple of comments coming in there. I think we've already answered this one, Larry. I think Lynchman said that Target is probably going to be the main man, the first signing.
Target, then Jesse Lingard. If I had to put any money on, the first signing will be Jesse Lingard.
Absolutely. And you're right, Davey. We do have a chance of finishing 10th. A lot of ifs and buts have to go for us, maybe. I was looking at
we could actually finish 9th. We could actually finish 9th as far. We've got a lot's got to go in our favour for that, but we could still finish 9th.
Absolutely superb. Ugly Bear, good to see you, mate. Manchester United fan in the comments. Yeah, we've mentioned Dean Henderson, mate. We'd all love him at the Toon. I think he would be a massive improvement. Mohammed saying, thank you for beating Arsenal so I can get top 4. We're glad to do you a favour, mate. We'll not steal Harry Kane off you this summer. That's how nice we are. And again, the comments there come back up. So Peng's saying, I'd rather Everton stayed up just so we can batter them twice next season. I do like that. I'm not sure Lampard will even make Christmas, mate, to be fair, if he stays up next season. And we've got Lee saying 4-1 win on Sunday. We'll have far too much of them. I think you're totally right. Don't worry about it, Larry. Arrive late. Just go back to the start, mate, when you get a minute, and you'll see what was said about Henderson previously. And we've got Super Gav finishing off there with I was just thinking 3-1 as well. Absolutely, mate. So he's on board with us. But we're all done there. Thank you so much, guys, for the comments. We absolutely love it. It really helps the channel flow and grow. We love having a bit of crack with you. We love hearing from fans all over, especially Newcastle fans and other fans of other clubs all across the world. So, yeah, as we mentioned at the start, if you haven't done already, please remember to click that like and subscribe button. We're looking to try and break that 400 subscriber mark. We've only just got over 300, so we've got a little way to go, but if you guys can help us along the way, we'll absolutely love you forever. So until then, let's see what we've got there. Sorry.
I was going to say, just take a step from V for Vendetta. Yeah, newly so. Yeah. Thank you very much, mate.
Top man, thank you so much, V for Vendetta. It's great to have you on board, mate. Absolutely great to have you on board. Yeah, and sorry, we'll just finish off with a couple more comments before I wrap up there. So we've got, as a Spurs fan, big thank you, absolutely. We've got a lot of Spurs love tonight, guys, haven't we, to be fair? So absolutely great. Yeah, Larry saying cheers for the show. Later, fellas, thank you so much. Dan as well in the comments. Winnie win, great show. PDK as well, and Lee is going to get some rest, mate. So that's a great way to sign off. Hopefully, Lee might be back next week if he gets himself a little bit better.
Cheers, everyone. Great comments tonight. Fantastic stuff.
Thank you very much.
Superb. So until next week, guys, let's keep supporting that team we call United, and we'll see you next week for more Evermore. Take it easy, guys.
Take care, guys. See you later.